Welcome! This is Lesson 4 from Adobe Illustrator CC 2017 Classroom in a Book. First thing you're going to do is you're going to open up your Lesson 4 start file in Illustrator, which is what we have here. Basically, we're going to use a variety of tools to finish these birds and then move them over to this final project. So the first thing we're going to work with is we are going to need to open up our artboard panel. You're going to want that opened up on the left along with your layers panel. If you don't know how to do that, go up to Windows and select on artboards and layers. You're also going to want to go to View and turn on your Smart Guides. If your file is not opened fully in this window, press Ctrl-Alt-0 and it will open it up. So for instance, Ctrl-Alt-0 places all the artboards in the screen. Now, the next thing we're going to do is on our artboard menu over here, we're going to go to artboard number 2, which is bird 1, and we're going to just double click it, and that will actually zoom us into this artboard. Now, the first tool we are going to use is we're actually going to trim these tail feathers and change them to blue. So, alright, let's get started. So we're going to select our shape here. I just used the selection tool. Then, usually it's set to the eraser tool as your default. So if you come to the eraser tool and you click and hold, you'll be able to see the tools underneath it. So we're going to grab the scissor tool. I'm going to come over here to the tail feather and I'm going to zoom in, and how you can zoom with the shortcut is Control and then the plus sign. If you hold down the space bar, it allows you to grab and move around. So I'm going to zoom in. I have the scissor tool and I'm going to select right on this anchor point. Now it looks like it didn't do much, but you'll see in a second what it actually did do. We're going to do our direct selection tool. I'm going to quickly go up here to View and turn off my Smart Guides, so it allows me to move things around a little bit more. And then I'm going to kind of move around my feathers a little bit. Open this up. Now once I have that adjusted, and you can even grab the arms here and adjust that. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to need to actually close this shape. So I use the scissor to cut the anchor point, but if you'll notice, the shape is now open. It is not a closed shape. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to select this anchor point here. You know it's selected because it's a blue, a solid color, whereas these other ones are white. That means they're not selected, they're open. So you're going to select this anchor point. You're going to hold down Control, and you're going to select, hold on. Sorry, you're going to hold down Shift and select the other anchor point. Once you have both anchor points selected, you're going to right click and you're going to click on Join. Now your shape is actually joined. So you can do that with any points or any shapes that's broken. You can reconnect them or rejoin them simply by selecting both shapes or both anchors and then selecting them. There's another way of doing this as well. You could take the direct selection tool, click and drag, and it will actually select both of those points automatically, so you don't have to hold down Shift. And then you can just click Join and it will join them. Now I'm going to use my selection tool. I'm going to grab this. I'm going to come over here to my Eyedropper tool and I'm going to select the bird. And now you'll notice it actually changed the stroke, which is the outline, and the fill color to match the bird. I'm going to do Ctrl-0 and that will zoom me out to this artboard. The next thing you're going to do is take your selection tool, take your feathers, and you're going to bring them down here and kind of place them like that. Alright, now we're going to make our way over here to our artboards panel once again, and we're going to double click, this time on bird 2. So now we are on this bird. The next tool we're going to use is actually going to be the knife tool. So click and hold on the scissor tool and go down and click on the knife tool. Now the knife tool is pretty interesting. So we're going to actually create stripes that go across, like banding that goes across the toucan's beak. So for the first one, I'm going to select up here and I'm going to drag down and get a nice curve. Now you'll notice it wasn't working. So if we click and drag, it's not actually doing anything. You have to have the object selected that you want to slice. So I'm going to select the beak, go back to my knife tool, and click and drag. It doesn't have to be perfect. Now I'm going to hold Shift and Alt at the same time to create straight cuts. There we go. Now, if you click the selection tool, or for a shortcut V, you can select individual parts of this, and we're going to color them. So I'm going to color this first one a blue, then I'm going to skip one, I'm going to color this one an orange, and then I'm going to color the one at the end a red. So you'll notice I'm using my fill up here. Now once I have all of them selected, this outline here is kind of annoying, so I'm going to click and drag, select all of it, and I'm going to change the weight to 0. And there we go. Alright, now we're going to work with the eraser tool. So I'm going to go back to bird 1 using my artboard. I'm going to select this shape here, this oval, and I'm going to click and hold on the knife tool, and I'm going to bring up the eraser tool. Now the eraser tool will only erase the object you have selected. You'll notice how it started to look like it was erasing it, but it actually did not erase it. If you have an object selected, it will only erase that object. If you don't have any object selected, then the eraser tool will erase anything. So you really want to make sure when using the eraser tool that you actually have the object you want to erase selected. So I'm selecting the oval. I'm going to double click on my eraser tool. It's going to bring up this options panel, and we're going to make sure the size is set to 20. So make sure it's at 20, everything else should be the same, and click OK. Now we're going to take the eraser tool with our oval selected, and I'm going to erase right about there. So now you'll notice it erased the lines, but it's joined the lines at the same time. So it reconnected your shape, which is really nice. Then I'm going to click V for my selection tool. I'm going to change the weight stroke to 0, and I'm going to change the fill color to a dark blue. Alright, now we're going to work this larger circle down here. So you're going to go ahead and select it. Then you're going to grab your eraser tool again, same settings is fine. You're going to hold down the Shift key, and you're going to drag it straight across. A little bit lower, so I'm going to Control Z to undo. I'm going to drag it, hold down Shift, drag it straight across. Why is it? Select it. There we go. Then I'm going to erase the top part. So now I just have this bottom part here. I'm going to use my selection tool, grab my eyedropper tool, and match it to the dark half circle up here. Now I'm going to select this shape. I'm going to go up to Object. I'm going to go down to Transform. Off right there at the top. And go to Rotate. Now what's nice about going this way to rotate instead of just grabbing the corner of the shape and rotating it is I can put precise angle. So I'm going to put -20 and click OK. So now it's slightly angled. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use my selection tool, and I'm actually going to make sure all my objects are placed. My tail got moved, but that's okay. Yours should still be there. And we're going to put the bird kind of together. The next thing you're going to do, once you have the eye and the wing and the tails all in the place you want, you're going to click and drag over the whole object and do Control G to group. So now you have this object that is grouped together. Okay, now we're going to go on to Artboard 4, the butterfly. And we're going to want to zoom in. So you can actually use the zoom tool here. And if you click and drag, it allows you to zoom in. We're going to use the selection tool. The first thing we're going to do is click and drag and select all the shapes. You need to make sure you have everything selected, because we're going to use the shape builder tool, which is this double circle with a little arrow on it, the shape builder tool. With the shape builder tool selected, you're going to click and drag from the outside here down and inward like that. And you're going to do the same thing on the other side. That's kind of ugly. And then once you have that, you're going to hold down the Alt button, and now you'll notice that there's a little minus sign. This allows you to delete some shapes. We're going to delete the 2 red shapes on each side. The next thing you're going to do is you're actually going to double click on the shape builder tool, and it brings this up. And what we're actually going to want to click is under selection, we want to click straight line and then click OK. Once you've changed your settings for the shape builder tool, you're going to make sure you have your, you're going to have all your shapes selected. Using the shape builder tool, you're going to hold down Alt and you're going to draw a line straight through the green rectangles to delete it. Then once you have done that, you're going to come up here and you're going to select a red-orange color. You need to make sure both your wings are still selected. So come up here, select a red-orange color, and then you are actually going to select both of them and do Control-G or right-click group to group these 2 wings together. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to do Control-Alt-0. Oops. We're going to actually be using these pieces over here. So I'm going to double click on the butterfly artboard to open it up. I'm going to click and drag this over here. Now, if your smart guides are not on, this could be a little annoying. So if you go up here and turn on your smart guides, it will actually help you line things up a little bit easier. There you go. So now I'm going to piece my butterflies together and put the center piece in. I want it kind of lined up in the center. Your smart guide should be helping with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to group these together, grab this, and I'm going to make sure I have a line to select object, and I'm going to line them up. That way it's perfect, and I can actually grab all of these and line them up perfectly. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to ungroup these wings down here. Alright, we're going to move on to bird number 3. And we actually are going to open up our Pathfinder tool. So go to your windows, go down to Pathfinder. You'll have this little guy pop up. Now we are going to select both of these objects here, this rectangle and circle. And we're going to click on the minus front, which is the second one. So that we just have this shape right here. Now using the Pathfinder tool where we minus the front actually permanently subtracts that oval. So what we're actually going to do is select your shape again, go up to Edit and Undo. You'll see that it actually undid what we just did. So the next thing that you're going to do is you're actually going to click the 2 shapes, make sure you have both of them selected. You're going to hold down Alt and select the minus front. Now what this actually did is this created more of a compound shape. So our shape is still there, it's just hidden. So we're going to deselect off of it. Okay, so what we're actually going to want to do is we're going to want to select, use our selection tool, select both. We're going to hold down Alt and select the minus front. Now what this did is it actually, minus the front, kind of like in Pathfinders, but it created a compound path tool. So you'll notice the oval is still there. So the next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to double click on the blue portion. This puts us in isolation mode, so it kind of blocks everything else out. Then we're going to go up to View, and we're going to view the outline, and you'll notice that it kind of gave us this outline here. We're going to click on View using GPU, and what we're going to do is we're actually going to move the oval over just a little bit to the left. Then we're going to hit Escape, and as you'll see, now we have a little bit larger wing base here, because this is going to be the wing for our bird. Now we're going to select both shapes and we're going to click Expand. Once you've expanded the wing, the next thing you'll do is you'll actually move your wing over to right about there, and now we have our bird. The last thing we're going to do to the bird is we're going to select all of the parts of the bird, and we are going to either right click and go to Group, or you can just do Control G. Make sure you have it all selected, and Control G will group it. So once it's grouped, you can move it around without worrying about losing pieces. Now we're actually going to go back to the butterfly, and we're going to zoom in because we're going to need to create some compound paths here. So what we ultimately want to do is we're going to want this orange circle in the center of this wing with a cutout, kind of similar to down here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this black circle, and we are going to outline, and we're going to place it pretty much right in the center. And then we are going to select all of them, and we're going to right click, and we're going to go to Make Compound Path. Now you'll notice it's white in the center. It's actually transparent. Now, if you go to click yours over and it disappears behind the wings, if you right click and go to Arrange, you can click Send to Back, and there it is. So we're just kind of messing with the layers a little bit. I'm going to hold down Alt and make a copy of it. And once I have it in the right spot, I'm going to select the entire butterfly, Control G to group it together. Then I'm going to right click and go to Transform and go to Rotate. And I am going to rotate it at a negative 45 degrees. So I want negative 45. And then click OK. And there we have our butterfly ready to go. Okay, the next thing we're going to go to is actually bird 4. And we're going to actually change this stroke here, this is line, into a shape. So we're going to use this tool that looks like a claw. It's called the Width tool. And you're going to grab that, and about midway through, you're going to click and drag outward. And you'll notice it kind of makes the line kind of fat. Now, I don't want it perfectly in the center, so I'm going to hold down Alt, and you see how the pointer goes from just a black to that little swiggle? We're going to move that up. And we're going to place that about there. Then I'm actually going to do another line at the top. And I'm also going to do one a little bit lower to make it wider here. And then I'm actually going to bring it in a little bit, so you see how you can adjust it. Make it a little wider here. Move this one down a little bit. I'm going to hold down Alt, and it's going to allow me to grab just this one side. I'm going to bring that in. Now I'm going to adjust this one here a little bit because I want it to be a little bit smoother. Now, once I have this done, if you'll notice I select it, it still is just the line. So I can't have a fill, I can only have the stroke, but I've made my custom shape. But let's say in the future we want to be able to work with this in more ways than just a line. So we're going to actually cause the line to become a shape. So we're going to go up to Object, make sure it's selected, and we're going to go down to Path, and we're going to click Outline Stroke. Now it's completely outlined. Then I'm going to right click and I'm going to transform and I'm going to rotate it to 45 degrees, not negative 45, just 45. Click OK. So now I have my bird's body. I'm going to place it right in the beak area. You can always move this guy down a little bit. Then we're going to actually place the eye and the wing. And there's our little bird. The last thing that we're going to do is we're going to hold down and click Control-Shift-0. Oops, sorry, Control-Alt-0. And we're going to go zoomed all the way out. And we are going to place all of our birds. So you're going to want to make sure that they're all grouped together. So if they're not, select them all, do Control-G. Select it all, Control-G. My butterfly should be grouped. This guy, select Control-G to group. Then once you have them all selected, you're going to actually place them. So I'm just going to bring the toucan guy over here. I'm going to bring this weird little teardrop guy here. Our little blue angry bird right there. Our butterfly right in here. And this guy kind of fits with the toucan right there. And then you're all set. Thank you for watching.